and go. Hey, welcome everybody to the episode number 10 of the Ranting Cast. I am your host, Ranting Ron, also known as the Ranter. I am going to be the host tonight. Frank is off and Steve is off, and I have a very special guest from New Jersey, Alex Chauvancy, who's going to talk about, I probably said it better the first time I said it, Alex Chauvancy he writes for the Hockey Writers. And we're going to talk about the Devils having a number 2 overall pick. I'm going to ask him a couple questions about that and really see where Alex thinks that the Devils are going to go. Welcome, Alex, to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Good to be on.
Yeah, now I know if I know you were going to be on last week, and I was able to. No, you were unable to make because you did get sick. You had the COVID, so you needed a few days off. And then last night I had something come up, so we eventually got you on here. Nice thing about the internet and doing this stuff from home is we can bounce it around and be on whenever we really want. So
yeah, exactly.
So how long have you been writing for the Hockey Writers, and why did you start? And give me some info about yourself and tell the people.
Yeah, so I've been with the Hockey Writers for about 4.5 years now. And I had been just kind of like fan blogging before that at another website while I was still finishing up college. And then, I don't even really know why I got started. I think I was just kind of interested in hockey, and I've always had a thing for advanced stats. So it's like, why not try to put that down in like kind of a writing form? That's how I got with the first site I wrote for, and then I picked up the Hockey Writers after that. And I've also actually been, I don't know if you're familiar with Todd Cordell, but I've been like doing guest contributing to his site since October 2021, which is also New Jersey Devil stuff. I usually do maybe 2-3 articles a month there as well. So his site is called Infernal Access. It's a Substack subscription based. So if you're a Devils fan and you're looking for some more content, you could sign up there too. He's running deals now with the draft and free agency coming up. So yeah, it's going to be a busy next 4 or 5 weeks. That's for sure.
Yes, it will be with the draft coming up, of course. Yeah, I'm trying to get writers from different teams, learn about different teams. Last week we had Melissa Boyd on from the Hockey Writers, who writes more for Montreal.
Yeah,
I reached out to you because hey, the Devils have the second overall pick. So we're gonna do this around the league thing. Of course, I don't know if we'll hit up every team. Probably won't hit up Boston. I'm kidding. Not really. I probably won't hit up Boston, but yeah, no, it was great when you said you'd come on, and when I first put it out there, I took the picture of the wrong guy, so I wasn't sure who that was. I'm like, wait a minute, this says it's your name, so I probably found the right picture. Then I started wondering, I wonder if you're just messing with me. I guess I'll find out tonight when we go live. But no, I did finally find the right picture. That's cool. Now you live in New Jersey.
yeah.
I take it. You've been a Devils fan, okay? Devils used to be one of the Sabres, one of their biggest rivals. If you go back to around 94 with Hasek versus Brodeur, and you had the 7-period 0-0 game. I mean, I'm sure you're younger, so I don't know if you remember that, but I'm sure you heard of it.
Yeah.
Devils were a pain. Yep, Brodeur and Hasek and Roy Petrois. That was the goalies back then. I always contend that Roy is the best goalie in NHL history. And then because I'm from Buffalo, people say, "Oh, it's Hasek. Oh, it's easy." I always thought it was Wah. Some people say Brodeur. A lot of people say Hasek. Just so many goalies, Ken Dryden. So, but that was a great rivalry back then. And Devils, not it seemed like yesterday, but not long ago they were in the finals versus the Kings. So I maybe now it's been a long time, but it just seems more recent. So
yeah,
but the Devils have fallen on hard times, much like the Sabres. Probably not as bad, but you got win the lottery again to move up in the top three. Like, I don't know, it's third time in 5 years. I don't even know. So, is that right? 3 out of 5 years?
Yeah, would be 2017, 2019, and this year. So
Yep. Now you won't be able to, I don't know. Well, maybe one more time. I think there's that new
yeah,
rule.
they're still eligible next year
Right.
for the Bedard draft somehow. I mean, hopefully it doesn't get to that, but
Right. That's how
yeah,
we feel in Buffalo. We don't want to win these lotteries. We don't care anymore.
yeah,
Until
exactly.
the night of the draft, right? Until the night that they're picking the balls, like, oh man, well,
Yeah,
maybe
and then it's like,
more.
oh, you get the first pick. All
Right.
right, we can get Connor Bedard next year. I'm not going to complain about that, I guess. So
Right. But it's time we need some winning hockey back. Getting
right.
tired of Pittsburgh and Washington and them teams. So, um, you know, and so that gets a little tiring with the same teams over and over. But I think Washington is getting old in the tooth. I think Pittsburgh's the same. Sounds like the Bruins are going to be rebuilding. So maybe the Devils and Detroit and Buffalo can start to creep up. I think Buffalo is a really good goalie away from. Really, I think it's a really good goalie away. I think otherwise our team is pretty strong. So the Devils, where are they right now? Before we talk about the draft and the lottery and all that, where do you think the Devils are right now in their rebuild?
So I actually think a little bit like Buffalo. They weren't as bad as their record last year, the Devils, but their goaltending was just awful. They finished last season with like an 881 save percentage, which I mean, good luck. You're not winning many games with goaltending like that.
We know.
But yeah, exactly. So, but like you saw, like Jack Hughes, even though he, had a couple injuries that only limited him to 49 games, and he had 56 points. He was on pace for like 40 goals and 95 points in 82 games. Jesper Bratt had a point per game season. Nico Hischier had the best season of his career so far. So like, there's definitely pieces in place there, and they got Dougie Hamilton signed. So yeah, they're like the Sabres. They're just kind of a goalie away, and that's probably going to be priority number one for them this offseason is figuring out what happens in net. I mean, I would imagine they're going to bring someone else in to compete with Mackenzie Blackwood at a minimum. And there's obviously Jonathan Bernier, who's recovering from hip surgery, so we don't really know what his status is going to be going into next season. But there's definitely going to be a new face, at least one new face in net next season. We'll see who that is, I guess, in the next month or so. But that's definitely priority number one for them is fixed goaltending because they have some pieces in place that could at least make them compete for a playoff spot in the Metro.
Right. I think the Metro is tougher than the Atlantic in a way.
Yeah.
It's Buffalo's got the same problem, but okay, I'll ask you a question that as Sabre fans we ask: where's the goalie going to come from? Is it going to be Campbell from Toronto? You sign a big free agent for 2 or 3 years. You might want a longer contract. Buffalo is waiting to see if UPL is going to be the guy. We're waiting to see if one of the college goalies is going to sign here next year. I think Portillo will. Do you need? Will the Devils consider trading a second overall pick for a goalie? Probably not, but maybe some kind of package deal with a team that would include moving down a little bit in the draft. There's so many things that can happen. I mean, Buffalo's got 9, 16, and 28, so it doesn't sound like they'll trade. But GMs always say what they're going to say. GM speak. So, how do you find where do the Devils get this goalie from?
So the free agent class is it's not great compared to the last couple of years. I mean, the Devils signed Corey Crawford 2 years ago, and then he had a change of heart and decided to retire. So that kind of, changed things. And obviously, I just mentioned Bernier. It looked good at first. He played well, and then his hip didn't hold up, and he needed surgery. So, that's just a little bit of bad luck with those two situations. There's not really much you can do about that. I think they're going to try in free agency again. You mentioned Jack Campbell. I think he makes a lot of sense for the Devils. I think Darcy Kemper would be kind of interesting to see what happens with him if the Colorado Avalanche want to bring him back. Don't see why they wouldn't since they're in the Stanley Cup right now. But they got to worry about some things like Nathan McKinnon's contract extension coming up. So we'll see what happens with Kemper. And then
Colorado, if they win the Cup, it changes their outlook. Like, okay, we can now get a little grace period. We can try to retool a bit. Where if you don't win the Cup, you're really trying to keep it all together as much as possible.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I agree with that. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. And then there's obviously Ville Husso, too. I think he'll be someone that the Devils look at if the St. Louis Blues don't bring him back, which I think it would be kind of hard for them to have both Husso and Bennington in net just for cap reasons. So,
right. Well,
Um,
Huso is a free agent, right?
yeah, he'd be
He's the guy
unrestricted
you
free
want to
agent.
keep though at 27. So Bennington could be maybe had in a trade, but he's got kind of a rough contract. So
Yeah,
I think the Devils are where the Sabres are as far as the youth movement. You get a guy like Campbell who's going to want term. All right, he's what 30, 31, but he's
yeah,
going to want
30.
his final. He's going to want 4 or 5 years, probably 6 million. Right? Let's just say that's it. A team like Toronto or a team that needs a goalie that's cup capable, you would try. So that's probably a bad example. But a team that's like saying, "Oh, we need a goalie, we can win the cup. We have to go get a goalie." I'm trying to think of a team that's on, can use a goalie. I don't know. Just a team that. But Buffalo and Vancouver and New Jersey are in the part. Do you want to put money into a goalie for that length of term? But Buffalo got his youngsters coming up, and our GM said he does not want to block the path to them. But they have to do something in that. So, is New Jersey even going to consider that? Are they looking for a goalie that can be there for 5, 6 years because you feel you're strong at other places, or do you think I don't know what in your pipeline? Do you have any young guys you don't want to block waiting to come up? What's in the pipeline? Where do you think that goes?
Yeah, so there's a couple guys that they have coming up. Nico Dawes, who played quite a bit in the NHL this season just because he had to because of injuries. And at times, as you'd kind of expect, especially with a goalie, 21 years old, he had some of his ups and downs, but the ups were really good and showed a lot of potential. And then the downs, obviously show someone who still needs some work. And then there's Akira Schmid, who played a little bit in the NHL this season too, but mostly played with the Utica Comets in the AHL, and he had a really good season there. He had like a 913 save percentage or something like that. So those are two guys that they probably are going to want to play in the NHL at some point. But even with that, I'm still pretty sure they're going to go for someone who's a proven NHL goaltender. And if it means throwing out maybe a 4 or 5 year contract, I think it's a risk they might take. Maybe not in Huso's case because he doesn't really have the track record yet. He hasn't really played in the NHL that much. But like, say if Jack Campbell's their top target and it takes maybe a 4 year contract to get him, I think they would consider it because just how desperate the goaltending situation has been the last couple seasons with injuries and stuff like that. And you have Jack Hughes who's starting to show that he's probably going to be a star in this league sooner than later. So you don't want to really waste too many more of these years with him. You kind of want to start winning for him now, even though he just turned 21 like a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I definitely think they're going to get in a proven goaltender, whether it's through free agency or trade. One way or another, there's going to definitely be a new face in for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like our teams mirror each other. We've
Yeah,
been out of the playoffs for many years, and we're getting backwards. But you just in the goaltending, Buffalo and New Jersey, the history of the teams, Buffalo's history is longer, but goaltending has never been an issue. But since Ryan Miller left, it's been
yeah.
a tough spot. And since Brodeurs left New Jersey, I can't think of anyone afterwards that really. I think you had the one guy that ended up going to the Vancouver, who I thought was going to be your guy for a while.
Corey Schneider.
Yeah, of course. I thought he was
Yeah,
going to be, and so it's just like in football. You go a long time without a quarterback after you have a good. We had Kelly for so many years, and we went so long without one. Miami Dolphins had Marino for so long; they haven't had one. I still don't think they have one. So it's at one spot. But you think with hockey, the way hockey's going, get a guy that can just have a good 2.5, 2.75 goals against average. I'm not the analytic guy. I wish one of my other guys were on here because they're more in the analytics like you seem to be. But
yeah.
I'm a save percentage goals against guy.
Oh yeah,
If your goalie's giving up 2 to 3 goals a game, just score that 3 to 4 goals. You're going to win a lot more games. We were just giving up way too many goals. Our best goalie was 90 years old and Craig Anderson, and he was good, but then he
he
got hurt.
was good. Yeah,
But he can't be here. If we bring him back, he can't play 50 games. He's got to be your 32 game guy and hope UPL's the guy. If UPL shows what he did the 5 games before he got hurt last year, Buffalo might be okay in that. But again, just like New Jersey, it's like we're missing a piece we never had to really worry about in a long time. What kind of pressure is on New Jersey's management right now? Is there any pressure right now? I don't think it's too much on Buffalo right now because a lot of management stuff is New Jersey. What kind of pressure is on them right now?
I think there's a lot of pressure on their front office to get this offseason right. Last season, the playoffs weren't the expectation last season, but getting the second overall pick was also not the expectation. It was supposed to be something in between where you were just kind of the hope was to be playing meaningful games in March and April, and that obviously didn't happen for a multitude of reasons. So I think there's a lot of pressure on them to make some big moves And obviously, they got to be smart about it. You don't just want to make moves for the sake of making moves. You want to get the right
Exactly.
guys in. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure on them to get this off season right, get the right players in. Definitely finding a goalie, because if they don't find a goalie, they're probably going to have the same problems that they did this
Right.
past season.
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely pressure for sure.
Right. I'm going to take a little break here to talk about our sponsors. And just so people are not aware, New Jersey didn't finish second last overall. I think they had the 10th
Right?
pick,
Yeah,
right? They had the 10th, 11th.
they would have had fifth overall.
Oh,
So
really? They only moved up. I really thought that they
yeah, they moved up from 5 to
just
2.
3 spots. Okay, so
Yeah,
but
they were still bad, just not second
yeah,
overall bad.
hockey
Yeah,
can change like that, though. Just like I
yeah.
said, it's really. So we're gonna take a quick second here to talk about our sponsor. Our show is always sponsored, by John and Mary Subs. If you ever go to the one in Alden, just drop a line saying, "Hey, Ranting Ron sent me," and ask for Andy, the owner, and just say, tell him, maybe hook you up with some good food. It's really good. And of course, our other sponsor is Dinosaur Barbecue. They're located, well, now Alex is no longer located in New Jersey, or at least not the location. So I don't know, but there are a few here in Buffalo and throughout New York. So, have you ever had Dinosaur Barbecue, Alex?
I did, yeah. When the draft was held in New Jersey at the Prudential Center in 2013, it was right next to it. It was sad to see that the pandemic took it out,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll come back. But so you
Yeah,
can attest it's really good food then, right?
yeah, it's really good.
All right. And so, all right, we'll be back in 20 seconds. I thought about just leaving and going and getting some because it's only open until 9 and it's 8:18 here. So, and of course, I've used Eastern time zone. A lot of my guests are out west, Midwest. I've Edmonton everywhere. So, I think last week we were also in the East, but it's sometimes when I'm tuning this at 8 o'clock, 8:30, it's only 5:30, 6:30. So, me and you are both late birds tonight. So, everybody,
Yeah.
this is Alex Chauvancy joining me from New Jersey. He works with the Hockey Writers, writing about the New Jersey Devils. We're going to move on to the draft. New Jersey got the second overall pick. So before they did that, you said they're going to draft fifth overall, and you're probably writing about who they will draft at fifth because you probably weren't really thinking you'd win the draft. You never know, you might. But you're here thinking they're going to pick fifth. And it's weird as some Teen Titans fans was, I kind of wish they didn't win it because there's a guy that would probably in the long run be better. Now they're going to take the guy everyone says they should probably have to. So obviously Wright's probably going to go first overall.
Yeah.
Who do you think the Devils should take? Like if you were the one guy drafting that you feel they should take, and who do you think they will take if they're not the same player?
So I think they should take Logan Cooley. Just based off what I don't know if you follow Will Scouch. He does like prospect stuff, and
I've
he's
seen some of the stuff. Yeah, some of the
yeah.
stuff.
And when I watched his Cooley video, I was just kind of like, well, most people have him as the second or third best prospect in this class, but he was like comparing him to Braden Point. And I'm just like, well, if this guy's getting Braden Point comparisons, then, he should be the pick. But based off what like Tom Fitzgerald's Devils general manager said at his end of season press conference, kind of talking about him wanting to add a bit of a different look to their forward group, I would think they're going to end up picking Yuri Slafkovsky, just because, he's a big, everyone knows about him at this point after his breakout at the Olympics, and then now just tearing it up at the World Championships. But he's a big kid. He's 6'4", like 220 already.
Yeah, he moved up from like 7th overall to like really just climb that ladder.
Yeah, I think even in the pre-draft lottery ranking that Bob McKenzie did, a couple of NHL teams that he surveyed even had Slafkovsky as their number one pick or their number one prospect. So I think they're going to end up picking Slafkovsky. And even though I would pick Logan Cooley, I don't have a problem with them going for Slafkovsky either, because even though I think Cooley would probably be the safer pick, Slafkovsky does have insane upside. Like if you develop him correctly, he's going to be a really good first line winger for you. And he would add something different to the Devils group of forwards up front. They're mostly smaller skilled guys like Jesper Bratt and Hughes. Even Nico Hischier, he's like about 6'2", 190. He's not the biggest guy up there. Slafkovsky would kind of give them a different look. I see a lot of people compare Slavkovsky to, either Jesse Puljujarvi or Valeri Nichushkin, even Mikko Rantanen a little bit. I think Rantanen is a really, really good player. If Slavkovsky turns into that, then the Devils really made out well. But even like a Nichushkin type, who's just kind of this big guy who can skate well, who's aggressive on the forecheck, can kind of just create scoring chances off the forecheck, which the Devils don't really have up front right now. I understand the reasoning why they would want to pick Slavkovsky. It makes sense, even though maybe Logan Cooley will end up being the better player down the road. Also, Cooley's a center, and the Devils are pretty set at center right now with Nico and Jack. Even though my philosophy with a pick that high is always take the best player available, but I could also see the argument for Slavkovsky being the best player available. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up after Shane Wright, who's the second or third best prospect. You see some people say Cooley, see some people say Slavkovsky. You even see David Jiricek and Simon Nemec get thrown around sometimes. So, I think they should take Cooley, but I think they will end up taking Slavkovsky.
Cooley's easier to say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Devils got a couple of difficult names on their roster and then their prospect pipeline, so I'm just kind of used to pronouncing difficult names at this point. Shakir McCollum-Deline, yeah, Ty Smith.
So much easier.
Yeah,
but you don't have those kind of names that are good players. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you got your should, and who do you think they will? Who would you be surprised if they took?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd be surprised if they took a defenseman like David Jiricek. I think I'd even more surprised if they took Simon Nemec in that spot. I mean, I don't really see it happening. I think it's pretty unlikely. Just kind of the way the team needs is set up, and the way the I guess the top prospects are for this draft. I'm probably more inclined to believe that they'll take a forward. So yeah, I'd be kind of surprised if they took either one of the defensemen at 2. That would definitely raise my eyebrows for sure.
All right, and we'll go with our last question here as far as Devils, and we'll talk a little bit of playoff prediction here for you with what's left to play. Any chance, and there's always a chance, I know, but do you think the Devils will ever trade the pick?
It really depends what they can find. I say probably not, because it's gonna yeah. Oh.
My dogs are annoying. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
What it is actually, like, I'm out of my studio right now. I am actually revamping my entire studio in my office downstairs, and I usually have a backup. If you look at my older shows, you'll see all my Sabres and Bills, and I have this whole thing going on. Now I'm up in my living room, so my studio's a little off, and I'm not using my normal cameras, my normal mics. So it's just kind of like, I don't know how it's coming off. I'm hoping it's okay. So being up here, my kids are in bed, but then I hear a dog, let me out. So I open the door for them. So yeah, about trading the pick now.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on like what type of player becomes available. Like they're not going to trade that pick if they don't get like an impact player in return. It would have to be someone like, I mean, the one player the Devils fans really want is Matthew Tkachuk, but I don't see a scenario where the Flames trade him. I think it's a pipe dream for sure. I mean, I saw Alex DeBrincat Frank Saravalli was maybe talking about that, how the Blackhawks were pretty open to moving him. I mean, it's on the fence whether he's worth second overall pick, but I could see the Devils wanting
a guy that went in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, he's a proven like 40, 50 goal scorer at this point. So that's someone I could see like the Devils maybe targeting with that second pick. I know Kevin Fiala is getting tied to the Devils a lot right now, but second pick for him would be a little too much, especially given the Wild's cap situation. That's not going to happen there. So there's like only a handful of players that were really worth the second overall pick, and those players are probably not available. So I would probably bet on them, making the pick unless something happens with David Pastrnak over the next, few weeks, because obviously there's Bruce Cassidy getting fired in Boston, and then Fluto Shinzawa was reporting that it's possible that the Bruins could trade Pastrnak if he's not willing to sign in Boston. So he's a UFA in 2023, so the Devils would need an extension in place,
and also
to make that happen.
What's his name's retiring apparently.
Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, I mean, I would think after what happened with Bruce Cassidy getting fired that he wouldn't come back, but I guess we'll see there. So, yeah, I mean, if Pastrnak is available and the Devils could get an extension in place with him, that would be someone that would be worth trading the second overall pick. But I feel like things would have to go really south with him in Boston in the next 4 weeks for that to happen. And I don't see Boston trading him that quickly. So that's
Right.
probably a pipe dream as well.
Probably at the draft, which is on July 7th, a Thursday night.
Yeah, even then, I think for like Boston to trade him at the draft, I think it would be more something like Eric Carlson, where he gets traded in September, where like it becomes clear at that point he's not re-signing with the
Right.
team.
Unless
So
unless somebody comes along with a deal saying, "Hey,
right,
let's strike while the iron's hot." So, do you see the Devils making any big deals? Not the draft pick, but just any big deals as far as maybe at the draft? Maybe is there a player you think they might move off the team? And so not so much as who you think out there bring them back, but are there any Devils right now that may be traded that you expect not to be back?
yeah, I definitely seems like the writing's on the wall for Pavel Zacha. 6th overall pick in 2015 hasn't. He's a fine player, but he hasn't lived up to the obviously the 6th overall selection. He was on Frank Saravalli's trade board that he posted today. He was like 9th. I think it's pretty clear that he's not going to be back with the Devils just because of salary cap reasons as well. Another player I could see getting moved is Andreas Janssen. Has a year left on his contract at $3.4 million. I think the Devils might want to move him to just give themselves a little more cap flexibility as well. And then, I mean, I mentioned Kevin Fiala before. They keep getting tied to him. Was it Lisa Dillman in The Athletic, Los Angeles Kings writer? I think just earlier this week was saying that from people she talked to around the league, it seems like the Devils are the favorites to land Fiala. So,
Those never come true, right? They just never seem.
yeah, that's usually how it goes. But
like who saw Buffalo getting Taylor Hall last year? It's like, wait, what's going on? What? No,
right, yeah, that was a shocker.
Yeah, stuff like that rarely happens. So,
but I actually do think that there's a pretty good chance that they land Fiala because he's good friends with Nico Hischier, and the Devils have a few Swiss players in their system aside from Hischier. There's Jonas Siegenthaler too, and Kira Schmidt, who I mentioned before, is also Swiss. So I think Fiala seems like if they're going to make a big name, I guess a big trade, I should say, because there's some big names in free agency too. If they're going to make a big trade, I feel like Fiala is the guy they end up getting, and that would probably be a draft day trade.
Right, which would make sense. I think that's where a lot of things happen. So we'll see. Only 3.5 weeks away from that. So
yeah,
3 weeks from tonight.
Yeah,
4 weeks from tonight.
4 weeks. Yeah,
4 weeks.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it's later. Yeah, it's June 9th, so it's July 7th is the draft.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, 4 weeks.
All right. Yep. Well, before we wrap up, we'll take a couple of predictions here. So Tampa Bay Lightning came back from 2 games down. They're now tied. I thought they were going to lose that 3rd game down 2-0. I was already having a fat lady saying, and Tampa Bay shut me right up. So who do you think wins the series?
So I originally had Lightning in 7. I'm just going to stick with it. Lightning in 7. I mean, if the Lightning win tonight and they're up 3-2 in Vasilevsky in closeout games, I mean, best of luck trying to beat him in a closeout game at this point. I mean, he just shuts the door every time. I guess he's due to lose at some point. I don't know, but
Tampa did lose 2 games in a row for the first time.
Yeah, and it looked like they were going down 3-0 in the series, and then the heroics. So
tonight,
I'm sticking with the Lightning in 7.
Right. Well, I'm gonna stick with the Rangers because before the playoffs started, I had the Rangers versus Calgary in the finals. I thought Calgary was gonna do better. I was like, well, now they go. And then after they beat Edmonton that first game, I'm like, oh, they're going because of the goaltend situation. But actually, before around March, in early March, I picked. I don't gamble, but I just free money bet things. So I did pick Colorado Avalanche to win the cup, and if they do, I'll win a good amount of money. I really don't care that much for it. So. All right, and we'll talk about Colorado for 1 second here. They're going to have a long layoff, it looks like. That could hurt them. If they play the Rangers or Tampa Bay, who do you have winning? Okay, out of the 3 teams remaining, do you feel the Rangers can win the Cup?
Well, I don't think either Eastern Conference team can beat Colorado. I think they're going to beat either. I think the Avalanche beat either team.
All right.
They're so deep. Yeah. I mean, the other night, in Game 4, they don't have Nazem Kadri, but they just put Rantanen in at center, and then they bring Burakovsky back in the lineup. It's like, this is just not fair. Like, your second line is Rantanen, Burakovsky, and Lehkonen. That is an insanely deep team. The defense, I mean, they have one of the best defense pairs in the league with Devon Taves and Cale Makar, and it sounds like Kemper is good to go for the Stanley Cup. So, I don't think it matters.
That's a backup goalie that somebody could try to trade for, too.
Yeah,
Uh,
Francel's is pretty nice.
yeah, so
He's
I was
been
going to
good in
mention
the
him, so I
playoffs.
forgot. Yep, so.
So yeah, I just think either team in the East is playing to lose to the Avalanche. I think best of luck beating Colorado this year.
Right, right. It's the first time they're in the finals since 2001, and I'm
I
like,
know
really?
it's insane.
It doesn't seem like that. And
Yeah.
last question for night before we call it a night is who wins the Conn Smythe Trophy? I know who you're going to say, but go ahead, say it.
I'd probably say Cale Makar.
Oh, really? I thought you'd say McKinnon.
No, I think Cale Makar has been. I mean, that 5-point game to close out the Edmonton series is just kind of like. I think he has like 22 points in 14 games or something like that. I mean, if the Rangers make it to the Stanley Cup and they win, I mean, it's Igor Shesterkin. That's an easy one, I think. But yeah, I would actually say I would say Cale Makar over Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah. And if it's Tampa Bay, I don't know unless probably the goalie again, but he hasn't been great
Probably
this. So,
Vasilevsky. Yeah.
so. All right, Alex. Well, no, it's been great having you on here, catching up a little bit on the Devils, and
Yeah. Thanks for having me
it's
on.
nice to hear about our teams and our thoughts, what people are saying. So, where can people follow you on Twitter?
Yeah. So my Twitter handle is AlexC_ at AlexC_ THW.
And THW is for the hockey writers.
Yep.
All right, and they can find your work there, and you tweet out. And seriously, he's a great follow guy. He's a really nice guy here, and maybe before the season starts, hockey season starts, I'll bring you out for a roundtable. Get a few people on here. We'll talk hockey.
That sounds good to me.
We'll definitely have more information then. All right, everybody. Well, this has been the Ranting Cast. I am your host, Ranting Around with Alex Chauvancy from New Jersey. We learned a lot from him tonight, and we will see. And I'm going to say go Rangers. He's going to say go Tampa Bay. And we're both going to say go Colorado. Everyone, have a great night.